My name is Mark von Rosenstiel. I'm an artist from Seattle and currently living in Berlin. My background's originally in mathematics and computer science, but I've been practicing sculpture and installation art for the last long time. So here at Plymouth College of Art and with Fab Lab, I've been working at trying to combine some kind of theoretical ideas involving math and sort of the identity of objects into these very redundant like industrial processes of these machines made to replicate objects. So the idea being to create more intent and sort of emotional content into objects that are usually mass-produced. The process I decided to undertake was capturing sound waves from the area, transforming them into 3D forms, and then printing them into objects. So at first, just to practice, I used plaster and basically using this customized software I wrote to interact with Rhino, which is a 3D modeling program, to print these forms into plaster. And then I started to actually go around and gather objects from around Plymouth and record sounds from where those objects were found, and then started printing those forms into those found objects. In this project, I mostly used code because it was the easiest way for me to construct surfaces, because I'd never used Rhino and I'd used in a minimal way these 3D programs to create the models for using with the CNC machines. And so I used a combination of processing to capture audio input, which outputted to files that I could then input into a Python script to render these NURB surfaces. The chair is imprinted with a waveform of a gravitational wave, which is the most basic perception of space-time. So it's putting the chair in relationship to its most basic connection to reality. So a secondary piece of the project was this journal between me and these objects that I was creating. The idea being to use the letters as a way to maybe bring viewers into relationship with the objects in a way that kind of allowed them to see some of the conceptual frameworks that I was dealing with when I created them. Because I think some of the art that people see where there's no entry point into what is being expressed is a waste of most people's time. And so I wanted to make sure it was like a somewhat sweet entrance to something that was maybe a little bit intellectually heavy. People will look at art created from a mathematician's viewpoint, and they will say like, oh, they look at it as being somehow removed from the practice of art. And I think I've always looked at the practice of math and the sciences in general are just sets of toolboxes that we have for exploring some sort of problem. So math and art, I think, are very similar in the fact that they are both concerned with the objects and the relationships of those objects to each other. And in that way, I mean, math and art they can buttress each other in ways that I'm not claiming they explore the same thing, but I think that they can strengthen what the other is trying to do. We came to Fab Lab to use Fab Lab tools, and most residencies are pursuits of ideas that are not constrained by materials and the tools we use, whereas this one was constrained by tools that we use. And I don't say that in a way that's negative. I think boundaries and constraints allow for massive creativity. So in a way, the residency forces us to think of ideas that we might not as easily sort of dovetail into those machines, be dovetailed into those machines. I think that's a really powerful thing.